You know what's crazy? Indonesia has more oil than Malaysia. Way more people. A bigger economy. But somehow, Malaysia's Petronas became a giant that makes Indonesia's Pertamina look small. I discovered this when I visited both countries, and what I found out will shock you. This is the story of how the smaller guy won big time. Let me paint you a picture. It's the 1970s. Both Indonesia and Malaysia just found oil in their lands. Both countries are excited. Both created their own oil companies. Pertamina for Indonesia in 1968 and Petronas for Malaysia in 1974. They started almost the same time. They had similar dreams. But today, Petronas is worth over $60 billion and operates in more than 50 countries. Pertamina, it's struggling to even compete in its own neighborhood. How did this happen? Here's where things get interesting. In the 1970s, Pertamina was actually ahead. They were bigger, had more oil, and everyone thought Indonesia would dominate Southeast Asia's energy game. But then Pertamina's boss, a man named Ibnu Sutowo, made a terrible mistake. He borrowed tons of money, we're talking billions, and spent it on crazy projects that had nothing to do with oil. Hotels, airlines, steel mills, even a floating hospital. By 1975, Pertamina nearly went bankrupt. The Indonesian government had to step in and pay $10 billion to save it. Can you imagine? That mistake haunted Indonesia for decades. You know, as Malaysians, we don't talk enough about stories like this. Stories that show how our country quietly became great while the world wasn't watching. I started this channel because I travel across Asia, and everywhere I go, I see Malaysia's success. But when I come home, I realize we don't celebrate it enough. If you're proud to be Malaysian, if you want to see more stories about how our small nation punches above its weight on the world stage, please subscribe to this channel. Hit that like button. Share this with your Malaysian friends and family. Let's tell the world our story together. Because Malaysia Bowl isn't just a slogan, it's the truth. Now, let me continue showing you how Malaysia won this battle. While Indonesia was dealing with that disaster, Malaysia did something smart. Really smart. They created Petronas and gave it one clear job: make money from oil and gas, and do it professionally. No side projects. No fancy hotels. Just focus. The Malaysian government also did something genius. They hired experts from around the world, sent their own people to train in the best oil companies, and built Petronas like a real business, not just a government office. But here's the real game changer. In the 1980s and 90s, while Pertamina was still recovering and dealing with corruption and politics, Petronas went global. They didn't just pump oil in Malaysia. They went to Sudan, Vietnam, Myanmar, and even tough places like Chad and South Sudan. They took risks. They learned. They failed sometimes but kept going. By the 2000s, Petronas was in 35 countries. Pertamina, still mostly working in Indonesia. Now let's talk technology. Petronas built the Petronas Towers in Kuala Lumpur, those famous twin towers you see in movies. But that wasn't just for show. They invested billions in research. They created one of Asia's best petroleum universities. They developed deep-water drilling technology that's now used worldwide. Meanwhile, Pertamina kept relying on old methods and foreign companies to do the hard technical work for them. Here's something that surprised me. Petronas makes most of its money not from selling crude oil, but from refining it and selling chemicals and gas. They built massive refineries and petrochemical plants. They sell jet fuel to airlines, plastics to manufacturers, and liquefied natural gas to Japan, China, and Korea. Pertamina, they still export a lot of crude oil without processing it. That means they make less money from the same oil. It's like selling raw ingredients instead of cooking a meal and selling that. Let me give you real numbers so you understand how big this gap is. In 2023, Petronas made a profit of around $24 billion. $24 billion. Pertamina made about $4 billion. Both have oil. Both have gas. But one is making 6 times more profit. Why? Better management. Better technology. Better strategy. It's that simple and that complicated. Now, I'm not saying Pertamina is useless. They are actually trying to catch up. In recent years, they've started going international too. They bought some assets in other countries. They are modernizing. But here's the truth. When you start late in a race, it's really hard to catch the guy who's been running fast for 30 years. Petronas already has relationships, technology, and experience that took decades to build. What can we learn from this story? Size doesn't always win. Indonesia is bigger than Malaysia in every way, population, land, resources. But Malaysia focused, planned, and executed better. They protected Petronas from politics. They invested in people and technology. They thought long-term. Indonesia let politics, corruption, and short-term thinking hurt Pertamina. It's a lesson not just for countries, but for anyone building anything. So that's how Malaysia's Petronas crushed Indonesia's Pertamina. A smaller country with less oil became the champion because they played the game smarter. When I learned this story traveling through both countries, it changed how I see success. Malaysia truly is an underdog success story that deserves to be told. If you're proud of this and want more stories about Malaysia's hidden victories around the world, don't forget you're now part of this journey. So share this video with fellow Malaysians. And let me know in the comments, what other Malaysian success stories should I uncover on my travels? Jumpa lagi in the next one.